to them are specifiable ex ante. That's what I'm understanding it to mean for it to be law-like. So there can be law-like generalizations, and there can be generalizations that are not law-like. And I'm saying that in the case of non-natural phenomena, the generalizations are non-law-like.
The generalizations are not law-like. Okay.
Yeah.
What exactly? Okay, and law-like you define according to the ceteris paribus criteria, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Ceteris paribus meaning that. Okay, I'm just trying to make sense of that all. So, so the law is defined as okay, and then if something is not law-like, then it would be non-natural, correct?
Well, that may be a necessary condition, but I don't think it's going to be a sufficient condition.
Okay. So the decay of uranium to 235 meets one of the necessary conditions for being non-natural. Sorry, it doesn't mean one of the necessary conditions for being natural. One of the necessary conditions would be there has to be a law-like relationship, meaning that the ceteris paribus clause has to be specified ex ante.
No. I'm not saying that random events are non-natural. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that they can't be natural, right? I'm not saying that all natural phenomena can be subsumed under law-like generalizations, unless you also include things like statistical laws there. Right?
Yes. So not all natural phenomena can be subsumed under law-like relationships. Okay. So then, what is the difference?
Unless you're talking about statistical laws, right?
Statistical laws, right?
Yeah.
So then again, I'm just not understanding what is the difference between a natural and a non-natural event.
I've explained that multiple times.
I'm gonna have to write this down and just think about what you said, Jack. Unfortunately, I'm not grasping the finer details of your analysis at this point. But thank you.
Okay.
That was the most exciting thing I've ever heard.
Well, that was great. Very collegial. Good job, everybody, for not interrupting.
But that's not entertainment, is it, Haiti?
Oh,
That wasn't
I think
entertainment.
I found it very
not
entertaining.
I'm checking off right now.
You must be the only one if you're not being sarcastic.
Oh no, I'm gonna get tremendous entertainment out of it.
I'm
Did we lose
climaxing.
Apollo? We
Yeah,
lost
what's going on,
Apollo.
guys?
I gotta drive. Jane's in charge. Don't be naughty, okay? I'm driving.
I wanted to hear that Apollo guy. I'm sad about that.
Oh, Apollo wanted to ask me some questions about methods, but
yeah, that would have been the better conversation.
But I'm not sure that would have been that entertaining either.
I don't know. That hearing the same thing explained.
Fuck! I just woke up. What's up? What happened? Where are you guys? What?
Warm is in the chat saying he specifically asked Aga about Jack Kingstrike.
Yes, I don't know why Derez thought that he was asking about Jack. Well, he might have lied, but maybe he just didn't hear it.
Well, why would anyone care if he was talking to Jack Burton or whatever? Who cares if you're talking to Jack Burton?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, who when they say Jack?
Okay.
Because the only way that can happen is it's like when he said Jack, the first thing that came to his mind was Jack Burton, and he just ignored the last name. But why would the first thing that come to his mind be Jack Burton?
He's
why would they talk about him
individual
when clearly Jack Kingstrike is who they're talking about most of the time when they're talking about Darth Dawkins.
Yeah, can someone play the recording? I have the concept.
Well, you guys are just downplaying the incredible. You're just
Jack Burton saved the world. Have you guys not seen Big Trouble in Little China?
You're just not. You're just underappreciating Jack Burton's fame. Like he's very famous and relevant.
What do you do?
Yeah, wait. Darth hates Jack Burton. You guys didn't know this? Like, actually, he hates Jack Burton.
Can we just point out how much of animals you guys are? We had two people right there who were talking at the same time, and they both stopped because they heard the other one talking. And someone else felt it was necessary to jump in when those two stopped, trying to let the
Wow!
other one go.
What an
This
animal.
is what the atheists do.
This is what they do.
What did you say, Mo? Did you say something?
I was gonna say I thought
Interesting.
Darth running off of the politics server or PNR, one of them.
Darth got Jack Burton banned from PNR, like, on Discord at one point.
Oh,
I think
well,
that's what you're referring
maybe it
to,
was
Mo.
his mistake. It makes more sense if, like, they have a history.
You probably do, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Andre was on PNR quite a lot.
If someone can play the
Is it
recording, I have
over?
the timestamp.
So did that go anywhere?
Yeah, we learned a lot about Certus Paribus.
Yeah, the ceteris paribus ex ante ex post whatever analysis of natural laws.
Also, what's your pug's name?
Yeah, my pug's name is Mopsy.
Ugh.
You give it an ugly name too. You couldn't even.
That's so fucking gay.
That's a beautiful name. It actually means pug in Hungarian.
Oh, so it's boring and ugly.
You know, pugs live horrible lives, Andre. You know they're always suffering. You know,
Yeah.
you bought a dog that's supported his
evidential.
parents
So
and his
maybe.
cousins. All of his cousins are suffering because your ass is paying for them to live.
Yeah, so maybe you can advance an argument from evil from the existence of pugs, Jovan.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
Drez is resistant to the evidential problem. It's just staring him right in the face all the time.
I think you
every
guys
day.
kind of ruined it. He was gonna mock the ex ante ex post ceteris paribus clause,
Yeah, I didn't
but he
get
doesn't even
that.
understand it. But he still was trying to find a way to mock it. And you guys gave him an out by asking for like the pug's name.
I appreciate you guys giving me an out.
Hey, Agamemnon, why did you lie today and then also lie the other day when asked if you had talked to Jack Ainstrike before? Why did you say you talked to Jack Burton today?
I didn't say I talked with Jack Burton today. Are you kidding me?
You said that earlier. You said you thought we were talking about Jack when I asked you about Jack Ainstrike and God Talk 29.
Well, this is in the context of a previous discussion.
Well, I originally asked you if you had talked to Jack Ainstrike the other day while Darth was on stage. You said, no, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. And then today, when it was brought up that it sounded like you lied, you said, oh, I thought they were talking about Jack Burton. However, on the recording, I clearly asked you if you had talked to Jack Ainstrike.
Must have misunderstood you, sir.
So did you lie then or did you lie now?
I never lied. I didn't say I don't speak to Jack
This
Ainstrike.
is why I think John Lee is smarter than the rest. By the way.
Yes, Venus,
I
yes.
know that's not a popular view, but yeah.
And also, who cares?
You were afraid
Like,
of Darth,
who cares
so
who
you
I
lied.
talk to? I can talk to
By the
anybody
way,
I
did
want.
anybody clip the discussion I had with Derez yesterday? Because that was like a funny conversation.
Yeah. That was a funny conversation, Venus.
Well,
Were you
Therese,
calling me a subhuman?
yeah. Hold on. We're not doing any of that here.
That
But
wasn't the funny part.
you told me. Yeah, and I know, but you told me that you think Darth Tolkien's presuppositional position is unassailable.
Another thing I've been meaning to ask you about Therese. Why did you say that Darth Dawkins' position is unassailable?
Thank you so much, Jack, for asking me that. I think it's an unassailable argument because it's indefeasible.
But that's just repeating the claim.
Yeah, like a normative principle?
Yeah, so that's not what
Like
I'm asking you for.
like principus dormitatis?
Yeah, I'm not asking you for that.
More like,
In a nutshell, what exactly is your question, Jack?
Yeah, why would you say that it's unassailable?
You want me to lay out the argument?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to lay it out in my own particular way.
Okay.
It's slightly different from the way Darth Dawkins lays out the
Is
argument,
the inference rule got to be modus something?
but it's going to be convincing, and nonetheless, you're going to like it, Jack. So imagine all of reality is a sphere. Whatever you think reality is, whether you think it's a multiverse or just a single universe, whatever. Just imagine all of reality as a sphere. So the question is, can anything outside of it create the sphere? Well, nothing outside of it can create the sphere because there's nothing outside of the sphere. Can anything outside of it destroy it? Well, of course, nothing outside of it can destroy it because nothing outside of it exists. So what this shows is that at least either all of the sphere is self-sufficient, fundamental, or some part of the sphere is fundamental and self-sufficient. Now, obviously, you wouldn't say all of the sphere is fundamental because we observe things to begin to exist, like, for instance, chairs. Well, the universe is more controversial, but chairs, people, you, Jack, began to exist at some point. Your consciousness began to exist. So obviously, there are some things which are contingent, which are not fundamental. So then there's only some part of reality which is fundamental. So the question is, what are the properties of this fundamental thing? Well, must be, there are a couple of options before us. It might be a concrete, might be a universal, or might be a particular. So the reason to prefer a universal over a particular would be something like, well, a universal would just be a simpler hypothesis. Because if you appeal to particulars as a ground for all of reality, as a fundamental part of reality, well, ultimately, all of these particulars would be brute. And if you appeal to brute entities, a lot of brute entities in your ontology, then that's a violation of Occam's razor. So it's much better to prefer a monistic, a single universal as the ground of all of reality. So if there's so far we established that a single fundamental ground for all of reality. Now the next question is this fundamental part of reality mental or non-mental? Well, I think there's very good reasons to suppose it's mental, namely that consciousness is fundamental to the universe, and I can give you arguments for that. I can go into more details regarding that. But I think you probably wouldn't have too many. Actually, you probably would have objections to that. But anyway, do you have any questions so far, Jack?
What is happening?
Well, that's not Darth's argument. He isn't making a probabilistic argument.
Right. I'm making like a modified. I'm giving you a modified version of Darth's argument, which I think is just an amazing unassailable argument.
so when he asked you to show him how Darth's argument was unassailable, you thought giving a different argument is what he's asking for?
He literally started. He said that though. To be honest, he was honest about that. He was like, "Well, let me explain why I think it's unassailable. By the way, this isn't Darth's position at all." And then he
No, did
started.
he say that, or did he
Venus
say
is
that
correct.
this is the argument in my words? There's a difference between giving a whole, complete different argument and saying he's going to present the
Right, because
argument
he
in his
said in
words.
my words. Right, he said my
Yeah.
words. He didn't say he was going to give a different fucking argument.
Well, that what it turned out to. I
Well,
took it that
I
way, and it
think.
turned out to be something different. So I was
Well,
right.
I think Darth approaches the topic from a different perspective, but ultimately, I think both their arguments converge on the same conclusion.
Doesn't make them the same argument, you fucktard.
Are you an idiot? Are you an actual
This is
idiot,
why.
bro?
This is why I say he's Matt Adams
Fear.
on me level.
Venus, you can't be abusive, right? We agreed you're not going to be abusive during discussion.
I
This
didn't. I
is
didn't agree to
He
insane.
shit.
said he can't. Said he
And
couldn't be rated
I
R.
said I'm going to give my version of the Darth
You
argument.
said
Do you
you're
not
gonna
hear
give
me
it in
say
your own
that?
words, not a completely
But
different
that
argument.
wasn't the same argument though. It wasn't just like rephrasing it.
Yeah, it's my
You just
version
gave it
of the
different.
Darth argument with
It
essentially the
isn't.
same conclusion.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
even
Just because
close.
the argument, just because you have the same conclusion doesn't mean it's the same argument. Are you saying that like
Therese, you're a
the
clown.
cosmologically argument is the same as the fine-tuning argument because they both lead to a creator?
But
Like
did I
that's the
say it's the same
conclusion?
You're just
argument? I
clown.
said it's my version of the Darth
But
argument.
it's not the same argument. Just because they share a conclusion doesn't make them the same argument.
Well, no, they don't just share a conclusion. They share a lot of steps, such as establishing there's a fundamental part of reality, establishing that there must be a universal, establishing that this universal must be a conscious entity.
Is
So,
Darth's argument probabilistic?
yeah, so those three are the
Is
essential
Darth's argument
components.
probabilistic? Is it probabilistic?
My argument is, well, I can reframe my argument not as a probabilistic
I'm
argument. I
asking
can
if
reframe my
Darth's
argument.
argument. I'm asking if Darth's argument is probabilistic.
Well, it's not, but I don't take that to be essential component
Okay,
of
so if
Darth's
his
argument.
argument's not probabilistic and yours is probabilistic, don't you think that's a fundamental difference that's going to be distinctive amongst these two arguments, such that if you
No,
have one, it's probably not going to be properly representative of the other?
no, because that's not an essential component of the Darth argument. It's
You're
not
an idiot,
necessary.
bro.
Yeah,
Yes,
whether
it
an
No,
argument
is.
is
Oh my
Yes, it
god.
deductive or
is.
inductive, Jovan, has nothing. Has nothing
It
to
makes no
say.
difference.
but
But
I
It
can
if
makes
it
no
was
completely
difference.
reframe the
unassailable,
argument in
So
terms
then
who
of.
why would
cares
he
if
go
it's
with
inductive or
a
deductive?
different
Who cares what
argument?
kind of argument he's given?
If
But
the if the
it's okay
argument's
because I can
unassailable,
reframe
why
my
doesn't
argument
he
in terms
go
of
with that the
deduction, in
unassailable
terms of.
argument?
Yeah, I don't understand. If Darth has an unassailable argument, why won't you give us that one?
Yeah, I can give you that one too. I mean, I can
Please, yeah.
reframe it.
Go
Please,
ahead.
maybe your argument's the greatest argument ever, but we're looking for the unassailable Darth argument.
Yeah, he
Sure,
can make
sure, sure.
another other argument. Go ahead.
So take the
Right.
first step I just outlined, which is the sphere, and then ask yourself if you can
Guy's a fucking
predicate
idiot.
anything about the world. So predication necessarily involves statements like, "Hey, the tree is green." Well, when you affirm a statement like "the tree is green," you necessarily affirm its negation as well. You don't affirm its negation. You affirm the statement that the tree isn't blue, isn't purple, isn't etc. 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 And the only way you can do
What
this
the
is
fuck?
via the
That doesn't
law of
follow.
non-contradiction. So in order to
You're
predicate,
already wrong. You're already
Hold
wrong.
Yeah,
You
that
keep
on,
doesn't
saying
follow.
that
The
it's.
hold
tree
on.
can be. Sorry, go ahead, Jovan.
Let
yeah.
him give it.
So
Let him
so the
give
only
it.
way so the
All
only
right, go
way you
ahead. But
can
he's already wrong with this. But go ahead.
yeah, well, I'm not wrong because when you affirm the tree is green, you affirm that it is not the case that the tree
Nope,
Why
is
that's
can't it
not
be
not
true.
green
green.
and blue?
Jovan, let him give the whole thing, and then we'll hear
Jovan,
it.
Jovan,
Jovan,
come on, man.
your audio's crap, and I'd rather hear Venus fold him. So just hold on.
Yeah, just let me finish, please. When you affirm the tree is green, you also affirm it is not the case that the tree is not green, right? You affirm the case that it is. Sorry, you affirm it is not the case that the tree is blue, that the tree is purple,
Why can't it
which
be
is.
green and blue?
Well, I just take that to be contradictory because it'd be like
All right, so
green
like if
all
part of
over.
the tree is blue and part of it is green, that's a
Can he give the
contradiction.
argument? Hold
No,
on. Can he give the
but
argument?
now you're
Like,
switching
can
the
we?
sense of what I said because what I meant
Look.
to
If
No,
you
say
no, you
hold
can't.
on. Look.
is that
Hold on,
the
Andre.
leaves
Hold
of the
on, Andre.
tree.
Look, if you guys interrupt him, then we don't get to hear the whole argument. And I've been looking for the unassailable Darth argument for a long time, and I'd
All
like to
right,
hear
let him
it.
finish the argument then.
Yeah, let him give it.
Yeah, what I meant by the tree is green is that just the leaves are green, and it's not the case that they're green and not green at the same time. That's all I mean by the tree is green. Sorry, the leaves are green. Now, so in order to predicate, you need the law of non-contradiction. In fact, you need the law of non-contradiction to hold necessarily, and so you need to ground possibility, impossibility, what can and what cannot be. And what is the thing that can ground what can and what cannot be, what is possible and what is not possible, besides a universal? Can a concrete entity ground all possibility, all impossibility? Well, of course not. Concrete entities cannot ground such things because concrete entities are just particular. Sorry, I messed up. I should have said, can a particular ground a necessary entity? Well, of course not, because particulars just exist as self-sufficient entities. I mean, brute particulars. And self-sufficient entities, it's not like they share something. It's particulars are not universals. So there's nothing to ground a universal statement like the law of non-contradiction. So essentially, we arrive deductively that the fundamental nature of reality must be a universal. Well, why is it a concrete universal? Well, because we, in order to know anything about this universal, it has to be concrete, not abstract. And I'm going to use a Gettier case thought experiment to demonstrate that. So what Gettier cases have demonstrated is that in order to have
Just tell me when you
knowledge...
guys want somebody to be able to jump in, because he's going to go on for a long time.
Wait, I want to
Well,
take
let me,
bet.
let me
Wait,
just
does
finish the
anybody want to
argument.
take bets?
Why do you bring up Gettier cases?
Hold on, hold
Just let
on.
Venus. Just let Venus. Right?
Does anybody want to take bets that he doesn't know what a Gettier case is?
He probably does.
I probably do, Venus. So why must it be a concrete particular? Well, because an abstract particular has no causal effects. And if an abstract particular has no causal effects, it can't influence your beliefs about it. So it cannot have produced a knowledge, well, could have produced a justified true belief, but not a knowledge of laws like the law of non-contradiction. So then the ground of all reality is a concrete particular. And what is your concrete particular which grounds your worldview, Venus? Sorry, what is the concrete particular that you appeal to, which is a ground of all? That it can and cannot be what is possible and what is not possible.
I don't even think that's a meaningful sentence.
It's not a meaningful sentence.
That's right. What was the thing with Gettier cases again? I want you to talk about the Gettier case. What were you gonna say there?
Oh yes, perfect. Thank you for asking. So imagine there's an abstract entity. Abstract entities by definition are non-causal. Well, if an abstract entity is non-causal, then there's a question of how a non-causal entity can influence your beliefs about it. Obviously, we would be forced to say that a non-causal entity couldn't influence your beliefs about it. And we can demonstrate this using Gettier cases. So you could have a justified true belief about an abstract entity, but you couldn't have knowledge, because what Gettier cases have demonstrated is there must be some external mechanism, there must be some truth tracking mechanism which produces your beliefs, which is external to you. But in this case, there's no external truth tracking mechanism because by definition, abstract entities are causal. So you could have a justified true belief of an abstract entity, but you couldn't have any knowledge of such an entity.
What's the argument that Gettier cases entail externalism?
I'll give you the classic formulation of this argument. So the classic formulation is that imagine there's a scenario in which you have a watch and you look at it and it says 12 o'clock, but your watch actually never worked. Just by pure cosmic accident, you happen to look at your watch, not one second late, not one second early. You just happen to look at it at the right time. Now, obviously, in this case, you would have a justified true belief. Your belief is true. It's justified because the way people get justification about what time it is by looking at their watch. But you have no knowledge because it was just by pure cosmic accident you happen to look at your watch at the right time. But imagine there's a different scenario in which your watch is working properly. In this case, you look at your watch, you not only have a justified true belief, but you have knowledge of what time it is. Now, what is the difference between the two cases? Well, the difference between the two cases, and you can apply this to any Gettier case type scenario, is that in the latter case, there's an external truth-preserving mechanism from some external fact, in this case time, to your beliefs about time. The external truth-preserving mechanism would be your watch working properly, and that transmitting waves of light to your eyes.
Why is it not the case that merely there's luck in the first case and not luck in the second case?
I don't understand what that question
Why
is
can't
supposed to be
you
asking.
maintain an internalist view and just add that there's no epistemic lock in conjunction with the GTB analysis? That would fit both of their cases, just as any externalist analysis of the latter case.
Why can't you hold there's epistemic luck in the latter case? Is
No,
that the
I'm saying
question?
even if I grant you that there is no knowledge in the first case, for the sake of the argument, and in the second case, the difference is going to be that the clock is working in the second case, but not the first case. That could be, you could accommodate for that with an internalist view by just holding that the reason why there's no knowledge in the first case is because there's luck involved. That's why you had JTB, whereas there's no luck in the latter case. And
Yeah,
so
but why
actually the correct analysis is that you need a fourth condition in conjunction with GHB, the fourth condition being something like there's no epistemic luck involved. And that is fine and dandy with an internalist view. That doesn't require an externalism.
no, but what is your analysis of why there's luck involved in the first case, but there's no luck involved in the second case? It's because there's an external truth preserving mechanism in the latter case, right?
So that has nothing to do with externalism. In every Gettier case, whether you take the Barcelona case or whether you take the Zabzewski's cases, it's always a case of luck as to why you get JTB.
Yes, luck, because there's
That
no
has
external
nothing.
truth tracking mechanism. That's why you get luck.
Look, look, look. You're being stupid now. What I'm asking for is, do you know what
Wait,
the
don't
difference
use
between?
defamatory.
Do you
Don't use
know? Do you know
offensive
what the
language.
difference? Do you know the difference between internalism and externalism in epistemology?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about justification, then yes, of course.
Yeah. What's the difference between internalism and externalism?
I don't know. Why don't you educate me?
You just said you know what the difference is. So what's the
But I want
difference?
to know if you know.
Okay, now you're just dodging. So the point that I'm making is you don't need to affirm any externalist view about epistemology. You don't need to give into externalism to account for Gettier cases. You can do so with internalism by just requiring there to be an additional condition that there is no luck involved.
Okay, but if you say that accounts, okay, there's
It's
no
not going
luck
to be
involved. That's
the
that's an incomplete analysis of what is happening in the cases, because if you just say there's no luck involved, okay, why is there no luck involved in the latter case?
that is
It's because there's an external truth preserving
yeah,
mechanism.
but now you're confusing externalism with external factors. It's always going to be because of external factors, whether there's luck or no luck involved.
Okay.
It's it's not.
So
It's always going to
Venus,
be because of
tell
look.
me how
It's
you
always going to
know.
be look. Externalism is the view that what generates warrant is something external to the agent, which is
Mhm.
what you're trying to push for. What I'm saying is it's you can grant all of the Gettier cases, whether that was given by Gettier or Zabzewski, and you can always read them through an internalist lens by just adding a fourth condition without invoking any external belief producing mechanism
Okay.
as a necessary condition for knowledge.
I have a couple of concerns about that. The first concern would be what explains the luck in the latter case as opposed to the former case. Well, you would have to give an account analysis of what explains the luck. Second, if you want to say that, oh, but by the way, second is that do you, just internalism about justifications is just the idea that you have access to the epistemic access to the reasons which justify your beliefs. But in this case, okay, so you would need to have access to the luck, to the fact that
No,
your beliefs are
no,
not
you don't.
lucky.
No, now you're being stupid again. Look,
Yeah,
you need
Venus,
to
I'm
have
not done
access
with
to.
my critique. I'm not done with my critique of your ideas, of your specious ideas. So internalism of justification just means you have internal access, epistemic access to a justificatory reason. Now, in this case, how could you determine that whether you got lucky or not?
It's
How
irrelevant
do
to
you
the
have
account.
epistemic access to whether you got lucky or not? What way
Oh,
you have that?
yeah, that's completely irrelevant. Look, you never have access to whether the proposition is true or not. All you're going to have access to is the justification part. The point is, justification is not sufficient for knowledge because you can have justified false beliefs, even on a simple GDB reading. The point
Yeah.
is, What Gettier cases, if you have those intuitions, I don't even have the intuitions that agree with Gettier cases. But if you do have those intuitions that agree with Gettier cases, you can accommodate those intuitions by adding a fourth condition instead of revising your view what justification is.
Sure. But in this case, do you have
And you don't
access to the
need you don't
reason why
need
you got lucky in the
no,
first
you
case?
don't need look, you don't need access to whether or not you're lucky in that situation. It's only gonna the only thing you
Well,
have.
then it's not a justified belief, and then
Oh my
you
God,
don't
you're
have.
so no, it is. It is just look in both of your examples. The only reason why they're interesting is because you grant there is justification in both cases. You granted that there is justification in the fourth case. In the first case, you have justification. You have true belief. Sorry, yeah, you have
Absolutely, I
true.
grant it.
So
But I
if you're
don't
granting
grant
me,
that you have justification in the latter case. Sorry, I don't grant that you have justification from an
then
internalist
you're not
perspective.
talking about Gettier. Then you're not talking about Gettier cases. Gettier cases are cases where there is justification. Dum dum.
Sorry. What I meant to say, yeah, I actually agree with that. What I meant to say is it? Do you have a justified belief that you didn't get lucky in the latter case?
I
So
don't need.
presumably, what explains your knowledge would be the fact that you didn't get lucky. But you're saying you can justify that from an internalist perspective. So then,
The int, the,
if by
yeah, the inter,
justification I just mean you have a reason to believe something. So in this case, you would need to have a reason to believe that you didn't get lucky in the latter case. So
No, you
what
don't
would be the
need to
reason to
have a
believe?
reason. Oh my God, you're so fucking stupid. Look, the
Okay,
reason the
okay.
reason access has only to do with the justification condition, which is granted in both cases. What you're asking in both cases is why is my intuition in the latter case telling me there's knowledge but not in the former case? And there's a number of ways to answer that. One way is there's involvement of luck in the first case, which is not involved in the latter case. And if you account for that, and if you account for the luck scenario, then you can accommodate your intuitions. Because the first case wouldn't count as knowledge because that was pure luck. It was purely lucky that your clock stopped. And at the moment that it stopped, it happened to be, once you checked your clock, the actual time happened to correspond to when your clock stopped. That's what most people call luck. Just like if you take the Barnes cases, when you're looking at the haystacks, one of them is just a picture that looks like a haystack um, from I don't know the distance that you're driving. Every other stack there is actually a haystack. And if you're looking at the picture and you're saying, um, no, sorry, I got it reversed. All of the haystacks are merely pictures, whereas one of them is actually an actual haystack. And you happen to look at that one and you're saying, look, there's a haystack there. There's going to be a luck. There's going to be luck involved there because out of all the haystacks, that happened to be the only real one. Now, if now you can factor in that luck thing and accommodate all the Gettier cases, intuitions that you have, and that's gonna be compatible in internalism. You don't need to take an externalist route to account for Gettier cases. That was the point that I was making.
Yeah, so I think that's an incomplete analysis because just looking at the watch example. So how do you get justification about what time it is? Well, you look at your watch. So in this case, you have a belief that it is 12 o'clock because I looked at my watch and it's at 12 o'clock. So you have a reason. The very reason why you have justification is because you have a reason for the belief that it's 12 o'clock. Namely, because I looked at my watch. But now you're saying that, well, because you looked at your watch is insufficient for knowledge, you need a fourth condition. The fourth condition would be something like another reason why you believe that. Well, a reason. Sorry, some belief, something that you have epistemic access to, which then justifies
Why?
justifies why you have belief. So then the question is, do you have epistemic access to the
No,
to the
why?
fact
Why
that
would
you
you
didn't get
need?
lucky?
Why?
But
Why
you,
would the fourth condition have to be something you have access to?
well, that's just internalism that you have to have
No,
access to all the
stupid.
reasons that
Internalism.
justify your
No,
belief.
stupid. No, stupid. The internalism is
No?
purely to do with the justification condition, which is met in both cases. Gettier
Okay.
cases has nothing to
Justification
do with the
conditions are
justification.
reasons for a belief?
Just look, look, you're missing the point. In both cases, take the watch cases. In both cases, me and you both agree there is justification there. What's in question is not justification. What's in question is why is there knowledge in the latter case and not the first case? And I just gave you a reason. It's gonna be luck. In the
Oh, okay,
first
okay,
case,
okay.
there was luck involved. In the latter case, there was no luck involved. Once you rule out luck, you can accommodate for all Gettier cases.
I think I'm
It's,
starting to get what you're saying. So you're basically saying
yeah, it's
that,
really sad that you're so slow that I have to repeat it like 50 times before you get it.
yeah,
But I mean, I
yeah,
guess it maybe
you're not
helped.
gonna be abusive. You're just annoying. I don't think your analysis is correct, by the way. But just for the sake of argument, gonna grant it because it's sort of like a stumbling block that's preventing us from moving
I don't.
forward.
Well, the point with this
I don't
was
want
you don't
I don't
need
want to have
some.
stumbling blocks.
You
I
don't
want to
know.
advance the Darth Dawkins argument as opposed to like Peter, like just
Yes. Yeah. So
getting
let's go
bogged
back to the
down with
Dart argument.
details.
Yeah, let's go back to the Dart argument because you said a whole range of stupid shit that I don't think you can
But
justify.
also,
Go ahead.
I don't understand why he was asking you a question when he was
Yeah, you're
giving
in the middle
Darth's
of giving the
argument.
argument. Yeah, I don't understand
Yeah,
why.
you like said this stuff about, you like said all this stuff, and then you said to Venus, and I'm not going to be abusive because Therese and I are friends.
Yeah, of course we're best
but,
friends with Jack.
I'm friends
but,
with the rest as
but,
well, Jack. What are you
no,
talking about?
I know, but I just don't want him. I don't want him to feel like I'm attacking him. But I don't understand why you would say, well, what's the fundamental in your worldview or something like that. Whatever the question exactly was, it was something like that. Like, why are you asking him a question when you're supposed to be giving Dart's argument?
Well, I was gonna get to that. So the fundamental entity could be a couple of things. It could be a universal or it could be a particular. Well, I've deductively established that such a fundamental entity cannot be a particular. It must be a universal. And the next question is it a concrete universal or an abstract universal? Well, an abstract universal, you could only have knowledge of it via pure cosmic accident. So this is the reason why the ideas brought up by Venus are just a ham-fisted attempt at blocking the Darth-Dawkins argument. Because
I'm
ultimately
not
he's going to
blocking shit.
conceive
You're
that
the one who said
abstract
Gettier
entities,
cases. The fuck are you talking
because
about?
ultimately he's gonna conceive that in the latter case, in abstract cases, you can only have knowledge via pure cosmic. Sorry, you can only have justified true beliefs via pure cosmic accidents.
That doesn't
And
follow either.
presumably he doesn't want to say that our knowledge of such entities is purely via cosmic accidents, like looking at your watch exactly at the right time, exactly at 12 o'clock, not 1 second early, not 1 second late.
The fuck? So, Jack, are you tracking the argument at this point?
Of course, Jack doesn't have to be tracking the argument. I'm giving you the
Or
Darth
is
Darth
anybody
argument.
else understanding the argument?
Yes, so you
I
don't
don't
have to
really
appeal to consensus because the room is filled with atheists. Like, what do you think they're going to say? Do you think they're going to
I mean,
contradict
I'm
you,
trying to
Venus?
look. I'm trying to be. I'll be hyper charitable to you. I'll be as
Yeah, you're
charitable as I
not being
never was before.
charitable. You're not
Now
being
it's
charitable. Don't
now
be
there's like
facetious.
hold on. There's like a lot of like gobbledygook here, like
You're
concrete,
so magnanimous to
universal.
me. You're so
Look, I'm being.
charitable to me,
Look, I'm
Venus.
trying to be. Look, I'm trying to be. I don't think you have even a deductively valid argument here. But let me try to understand the argument. Because I don't understand this thing like grounding, the law of non-contradiction. The predicate thing was just wrong. But then it seems like you're sort of like appealing to Ben Saraf's argument against Platonism, where you're saying that you can only know something if you can stand in a causal relationship with that thing. Um, I don't think you gave an argument for why you need to hold like a causal theory of knowledge.
The
Um,
causal theory of
I don't
knowledge?
think. Yeah, you were saying something along the lines that abstracta doesn't have causal powers, therefore you can never come to know of abstract objects. That requires you to hold a causal theory of knowledge. That you can
Yeah.
only come to know an entity if you can stand in a causal relationship with it. But that neglects things like um, abductive reasoning, conceptualization, a priori reasoning. We can come to know things a priori without having any causal relationships with them. For example, I can a priori come to know theorems in mathematics without having any causal relationship with any of the entities in the math question. Likewise, I could posit mathematical or abstract entities in a theory which generates a prediction which gets corroborated, which given the Quine and Duheim thesis, gives me justification of the entire theory, including the abstracta in the theory. And there was no requirement for any causal relation between me and those entities. So I don't know why you're relying on like this like retarded view of knowledge that you can only come to know something if you can stand in a causal relationship with it. But before that, you were just making like logical mistakes.
Now
Stuff
you're
like
gish
this.
galloping. You're gish
No,
galloping.
I'm going
I'm
through your
forgetting
entire
the
argument.
points. I'm forgetting
I'm
the
going
points
through
you
your
raised.
entire argument. What do you mean I'm gish galloping? This is your
You're gish
argument.
galloping.
No, gish gallop. Look, I understand you don't know what gish gallop is. Gish gallop is if I bomb you with five,
Define it
six,
for me,
seven
Venus.
arguments.
Yeah, define
I'm
it for me.
I'm going through your entire argument. You
Uh-huh.
started off with the predication thing, then you went on to a grounding thing, then you went on to like the causal relationship thing, then you went on to Gettier cases. I'm just going through your argument bit by bit. That's not gish galloping. I'm not
Yep.
bombing you with an arguments. If you want to go through a critique by critique, that's fine. But I'm not gish galloping you by criticizing the argument you just gave. This is
Yeah, but
fucking stupid to say.
people are not even following what you're saying at this point because you raised like 3-4 objections.
I've
So
only raised 2 objections.
how about we stick to one objection, we discuss it, and then we move on.
Oh, we
So
just move on.
what is the strongest objection you have? I construed
I
something
don't.
like that my
I don't
causal
even think
theory
you
of
have an ar-
knowledge
I don't even think you have an argument. I don't.
that
I
my
don't. I think
causal
most.
theory of knowledge is incorrect because there are alternative views. Is that it, Venus?
No, I'm saying 2 things. I'm saying one, you didn't motivate Ben Saraf's argument very well. You didn't give an argument for why people need to adopt the causal theory of knowledge. On top of that, I gave you criticism as to why you wouldn't want to hold such a theory of knowledge.
Oh, okay, so we can discuss that. So I think I gave perfect justification, perfect rationale for adopting the quote-unquote causal theory of knowledge. I went through Gettier cases in which in
Gedikis has nothing to do with the causal
hey,
theory of
listen,
knowledge.
man, you have to let me finish. Because even you concede that in the latter case, you can only have accidental knowledge at the very best.
I don't
Oh,
know what the
sorry,
fuck
in the former
accidental knowledge
case,
is.
you can only have accidental
What the fuck is
justified.
accidental knowledge?
Well, sorry, I meant accidental justified true beliefs. But you don't have the knowledge in the former case, right? And that's all I need for the argument for the quote unquote causal theory of knowledge, because you conceded that your beliefs need to be the only way you can have knowledge is via non-accidental justified true beliefs. And how do you get non-accidental justified true beliefs? Through an external truth-preserving mechanism.
No. Look, the point is
No?
the point is you have an
So
instances.
what differentiates the two cases, Venus?
Luck differentiates the 2 cases.
Luck by virtue of what?
I don't understand the question.
Oh, well, you're just being disingenuous,
Well,
dodging.
does anybody else understand the question?
Of course, people understand the question. Don't appeal to the majority because we all know this room is stacked with
If I
atheists,
don't understand the
sycophantic
question,
atheists. So I don't know
look,
why you're appealing to consensus.
dum dum. If I don't understand the question and you claim I'm disingenuous, I'm going to appeal to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
What?
have no idea. I don't. He asked what,
Sure.
in virtue of what, is accidental the differentiating property. You're just gonna show him that it's there and it's not in the other one. How else do you explain it? I don't understand the question.
Okay,
I don't even
Johan.
think
I'm
there
not
is
even
understand
considering
what
your
he's asking at this
sycophants
moment.
speaking for you, Venus. Your sycophants vouching for you, Venus.
I don't know
Why
what you
don't
mean
you
by
just
sycophant.
not appeal to sycophants and just like carry the argument by yourself?
No, if you tell me you don't think I'm being generous, I'm going to ask other people because I think you're just gobbledygooking. But if you want to contest that, we can just ask other people if they can make sense of what you're saying.
How about I just grant you that you're being generous, so you don't have to appeal to group consensus and have people over talk?
Well, it just sounds like you're being dishonest then, but that's fine. So let's go back to the Gettier case. The point with the
Yeah.
2 Gettier cases, so I'm going to have to take it slow so I can like educate you on this because you're not tracking. In the 2 Gettier cases, the point is you have an intuition, and I'm not even saying this is my view. I'm just giving you like one way an internalist can respond. In one case, you have a luck element. Your clock stopped. Your clock stopped.
By virtue of what is there a luck element?
I don't understand what you mean by virtue. What is there a luck element? The luck
Do you
element is the
understand the
clock
question?
stopped.
Why are you
The clock,
lucky in the first
the
case
clock.
and not lucky in the second case?
Wait, what? Explain why you were lucky?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a multitude of factors. The
Like
time
what?
when your clock stopped, the time when you
Yes,
looked
the
at your
external
clock.
process explains it. That's
Yeah,
the
but
whole
no,
point.
yeah, but that's look. Even the truth value of the proposition is going to be something external to you. That's like irrelevant. What's relevant is what explains why you have an intuition in the first case it isn't knowledge, but your intuition in the latter case it is knowledge. And one way to respond is, in the first case there was an involvement of luck, whereas in the latter case there was no involvement of luck. Now that's
Yes,
compatible.
but that's an incomplete analysis. The very point I'm making is
I
that
don't
in
see
order
how
to
it's
complete the
incomplete.
analysis, you have to invoke that there's an external causal mechanism which ensures that you weren't lucky in the second case, but you were
That's not
lucky
what
in the
the
first
that's not
case.
what the causal theory of knowledge is, dum dum. Look, the
Well,
point is, look, the point is,
if that's
in
not
the
the causal theory of knowledge, then why did you bring it up? Because that was just
because
what I was
because
talking about.
because look, because you were saying that if you can't get into causal relations with abstracta, you can't get to know them. That's what the causal theory of knowledge. That's what you haven't motivated, and the Gettier case doesn't motivate that. All
No,
the Gettier
of
case,
course it motivates it because it gives you the exact example in which there's an external
no,
truth-preserving mechanism which ensures you're not lucky. But in the
it's not.
first case, there's no external
No,
truth-preserving mechanism
look,
which results in
uh,
accidental
no,
knowledge,
no,
accidental
stupid.
justified true belief. I
Look,
mean,
I don't know how you're just stupid. Look, externalism, internalism is disputes about the justification conditions and not about anything else.
listen, we don't even have to talk about externalism versus internalism. But you brought up the
Now,
causal theory of knowledge or something like that. Okay, so
uh-huh.
we can talk about what ensured that you have accidental justified true beliefs in the first scenario versus what is the relevant difference? Well, the relevant difference is that there's an external process which was truth preserving in the latter case, but there's no external process in the
I don't know
first
what you
case.
mean by truth preserving.
So what is your
It's
explanation for then the
both
accident?
cases. Both cases are true. Both cases are justified. In both cases, there's belief. The symmetry breaker I'm giving you is that there was luck involved in one case that's not present in the latter case.
Yeah, you're appealing to principus dermatatis. This is just not interesting to me. You're just saying
I don't
opium.
understand.
Opium has sleep-inducing properties because it has. Well, opium induces sleep because it has dormitive properties.
I'm
That
not
is just a
appealing to a normative
non-informative.
principle.
That
Look,
is
you
just
don't
a
understand. No,
non-informative analysis,
no,
and
you
it's
don't
just not
understand what.
interesting.
No,
It's
no.
just not
Look,
interesting to me.
look, stupid. Appealing to a normative principle means that I'm just giving the same claim in different terms. That's all it means. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that in this case. In this case, you're asking why is there knowledge? Why is there this intuition of knowledge in the latter case and not the former case? The symmetry breaker is the luck condition.
Yes, but
I haven't.
what makes it the case that you're lucky in the first case and not lucky in the second case? You don't want to answer the question, right? It's just a
Are
brute
you just
fact. Is it a brute
no?
fact?
No, I mean, like you could give an explanation as to why
Okay,
your
give me an
clock stopped right
explanation.
there.
Give me an explanation.
The batteries ran out. You
So it's
just
the
happened.
external process.
Yeah, obviously, look, obviously, why there's luck is going to be external. The point is, it's the justification condition is going to be internal, not external. That's what I've been telling you for like the past 40 minutes. That you can't get, even if you hold to imagine you hold to a correspondence theory of truth. The truth condition for the JTB is going to be external to you, not internal to you. That doesn't entail externalism about knowledge. Forget this luck thing. Just think of normal GTB. Normal JTB, if you hold to like correspondence or you hold to like an externalist view of truth, why the proposition is true is going to be something external to the agent, not internal to the agent. Invoking Gettier cases is
No,
just
that's
gonna
not
it's just
true. It's going to be a relational property between the belief and the external state of affairs. So I'm not exactly
yeah,
sure
but
if you
that's
can say that relational belief is something. Sorry, relational property is external to you. Maybe you want to give. Maybe that's amenable to that kind of
look the
analysis.
state is the
But I
state of
think you're running
affairs
into all kinds of problems there.
is the state of affairs external to you or internal to you?
Well, the relation. Well, this would be a relational property,
That's
right?
not what I'm asking. I'm asking is the state of affairs external to you or internal to you?
Yes, but that's not the truth. That's not the
Just
truth
answer the
value.
fucking question. Is the state of affairs external to you or internal to you?
Well, of course, that state of affairs is
So
external
what?
to you,
So what
but
determines whether? Sorry. So what determines? So the truth maker for the proposition that you know is something external to you, correct?
yes, of course, but the truth value is
Yeah.
a
So it's
relational
irrelevant to
property
invoke
between the
this
truth
Gettier
maker.
case and do this entire dance that you're doing. Whether
What? This is like such a meta critique, Venus,
I'm not.
because
I'm not. Look, why do you
there are
keep
multiple
dropping? Why do you
views
why
in
do you do
which
this where you drop random words that you don't even understand? Gishgalop, normative principle,
yeah.
metacritic. What I'm pointing out is it's irrelevant to point out Getter cases. All you're
Are
trying to
you
say
giving me
is
a
that
reductio ad absurdum of
it's.
my views now,
I'm
Venus?
not running. I'm not running a reduction ad absurdum. All I'm saying is it's
Well,
an
it seems to me
interesting.
like that's what you're trying to do. You're
You're
saying
trying to
in these
let
cases
me
in
let me
which you
know when you're
have
done speaking. Let me
correspondence
know when you're
theory,
done. Let me know when you're done speaking.
it seemed to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying, hey, you're wrong about appealing to externalism in Gettier cases. Because look, we have in correspondence theory, the truth maker would be external to you, but that doesn't necessitate externalism or something like that. Is that the argument?
No, let me know when you're done.
Oh, I'm done.
Right. The point that I'm making is you seem it's interesting to say that there are external factors that play a part in whether or not the agent has knowledge or not.
Venus, can you get closer to the microphone? You're sort of slurring. I don't know. It's difficult to follow.
Sorry, is it better now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm making a simple point that it's kind of useless for you to invoke Getter cases because sort of what you're trying to appeal to is going to be established merely by the JTB definition of knowledge. Because all you're trying to say is whether or not the agent in question knows P is going to be is going to be partially or fully determined, sorry, partially determined by something that is external to the agent. Yeah, no
Right.
shit. But that has
Yes,
nothing to
that's
do
the whole
with.
point.
But that doesn't entail. Sorry, but that doesn't entail the causal theory of knowledge. It doesn't entail some kind of
Now,
externalism about justification.
apply that principle to abstract entities. Can you have an external process which ensures you have knowledge when it comes to an abstract entity? Seems to me like you can't, because abstract entities are causal. So you can invoke all kinds of theories of knowledge, blah blah blah. It's all irrelevant, because the point is, when it comes to an abstract entities, this external process, truth-preserving process, doesn't occur because an abstract entity is a causal. It's causally inert. It's
Yeah,
cause.
so yeah, but now you're begging the question, what's the argument that they need to stand in causal relations in order for you to know about them?
Well, that's what we agreed on in the Gettier cases, didn't we?
No, look,
That the
what
difference
we
between
agreed
the two
oh, no,
scenarios is that there's an
look,
external process.
no, look, what we agreed in Gettier cases is there's instances of knowledge, not every instance of knowledge, instances of knowledge in which whether or not you actually know a proposition is partially determined by external factors. Not that this is the case in every single instance. Not
Oh,
that
okay.
not
Okay.
so
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 can you name like it's like a type of
I gave
knowledge
you
that you could have,
yeah, so take
which
something.
wouldn't be which wouldn't be dependent on a truth preserving mechanism?
Yes, I don't know what you mean by truth preserving mechanism. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, a truth preserving, a truth tracking mechanism, like something
Yeah, what the fuck is
like your
that?
watch properly tracking the time, which then causally interacts, which causes your beliefs about the time. That's what
I
I
just
mean by truth
I just
tracking mechanism.
is all you mean is like utilizing some kind of a device that you take to be some kind of a reliable guide to certain things like time or the weather, like the weather channel, whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not. If the weather
Yeah,
channel is like
some kind of
okay,
mechanism
yeah. So
between the state of affairs which obtains in the
now
world.
take something like
Well,
let me give you
do you want to listen? Do you want to hear my answer to your question? So
um
by truth tracking mechanism, I just mean some type of a mechanism between the state of affairs which obtains in the world and your beliefs about it.
right. So take mathematics as an example. Um, if I know 2 + 2 = 4, and I know 4 equals 8 divided by 2, then I know 2 + 2 equals 8 divided by, sorry, 8 divided by 2. Now, in that case, I come to know something. It's an entirely a priori endeavor. There's no invoking anything such as a watch or a news channel or
You're
any
just begging
external
the
device to
question.
inform my belief. Wait, how am I
Yeah.
begging the question?
Because I'm a fictionalist about mathematics, meaning that I don't think there's such things as mathematical facts outside of
Yeah,
their
but look, if
conceptual.
you're look, if you're like a fictionalist, that doesn't mean that I'm begging the question.
Well,
I
presumably
gave
you're
you
trying to establish that
um
you can know facts external to you, states
look,
of affairs
I just
external
gave
to
you
you.
look, I just gave you an example of how you can come to know something completely a priori without invoking anything. If your position is going to be, oh, well, I'm a fictionalist, so I take all mathematical propositions to be false, then that's fine. But all that means is that if somebody doesn't hold to fictionalism, they can come to know something without having to stand in a causal relationship with that thing.
Sorry, you said if somebody's a fictionalist, they can come to
No,
know
no, no, no.
something.
What I said is I gave you an example that unless somebody holds some view like you do, that like the only true propositions are like the synthetic types, the empirical types, the propositions about the world out there. That unless somebody holds that view, they're gonna be fully justified in believing in things and knowing those things without having stood in a causal relationship with those things.
I'm trying to make sense of that. You said when it comes to synthetic propositions, there can be some cases in which we're fully justified in knowing them without being in causal relationship.
No, what I said is, sorry, what I said, if somebody holds to math being true, that mathematical propositions being true,
Hmm.
um, and they don't hold like all mathematical and all logical propositions are false, rejecting that there's such thing as a priori analyticity, then they can come to know of things independent of standing in causal relationships with them. That would be one example. Another example would be um, in the conjunction with the Quine-Duhem thesis. If you employ math in a theory and the theory gets corroboration, you're justified in believing um, in those mathematical propositions, which given classical semantics, you're also justified in believing the entities employed in the mathematical propositions, i.e. the abstract objects. Those are true examples of how you come to know that numbers exist, independent of standing in a causal relationship with those numbers.
Okay. So the first way we can have knowledge in which there's no causal mechanism would be something like knowing conceptual truths. So, for instance, if you know two, you know the concept of two, then you can add 2 + 2, and you
Yeah,
can
you're not gonna be
apply
smart enough to
2
repeat
+
what
2
I
and so
say, but
forth.
you get the point. So just move on.
Right. So, but there's a significant difference between. Don't you think there's a significant difference between knowing some state of affairs external to you and a conceptual truth?
No, look,
No.
if
Now,
you
one
actually
is a
bother to read,
synthetic proposition, the other one is an analytic proposition. Don't you think that's a significant difference between the two?
no, because look, I'll explain why.
No?
I'll explain. I'm gonna teach you. Just shut up for a second. If you actually bother to read the literature, you're gonna understand that the critique you raised, the Ben Saraf critique, it's actually called Ben Saraf's. It's by a guy called Ben Saraf. The argument you're trying to run is supposed to be an argument against the existence of abstract objects, and it's supposed to run the following way: that if abstract objects exist, you could never come to know of them, and so all of your views about math are going to be unjustified.
I
But
think my critique is quite a bit different from the Ben Saraf critique. This is actually from Robert Kuhn's.
that's look, that's fine and dandy, but as long as you require that in order to know X, you need to stand in a causal relationship with X. My criticism that I just gave now follow through, regardless of how if you're like mimicking Kuhn's or Ben Saraf or whoever. As long as you require some causal relationship, the critique that I just gave now goes through.
Yeah, well, your critique is that the first part of your critique is we can come to know some conceptual entities through without standing in causal relationship with them. But the argument is a non-starter because, well, conceptual entities don't actually exist outside of your head. So of course
Right, what's the
you don't need
argument
an
for that?
external.
Hold on, what's the
What?
argument for that?
Well, you think conceptual entities exist outside your head?
I think abstract. I think abstracta is not minded. That's correct.
Wait. So can you think conceptual entities exist outside your head?
I know what the fuck you mean by conceptual entities. Do you mean
Well,
abstract
conceptual entities
entities?
would be like the number 2, the
Yeah, that's
number 4.
abstract, dumb, not conceptual. That's abstract objects. Yeah, I believe abstract
Oh,
objects exist.
okay. So they're not conceptual. So it's not a conceptual truth that 2
It's a
plus 2 equals
concept.
4?
No, stupid.
Okay.
Conceptualizing means you come to know it through pure deductive a priori deductions without appealing to anything empirical or anything out
Yeah.
there in the world.
Uh-huh.
That's what that's what the conceptual part captures. The entities in questions are called abstracta. And you
Okay.
can grant that abstracta are both atemporal and causally impotent. By the way, you can even contest that claim, but let me just grant that for the sake of the argument. And
Yeah,
there are
granted, because you don't have a good counter argument.
I don't need a counter argument. It's the burden's upon you, dum dum, not upon me. Well, let me
Well, I
grant
already
you.
provided the burden that mathematical entities are conceptual, and of course, the type of knowledge you're talking about would just be conceptual truth. So, for
No,
instance,
look, look, it's irrelevant. Oh my
but
God,
the
you're so
argument,
stupid.
but the argument
Look,
is that in order to know a
you claim,
synthetic
look,
proposition, in order to
look.
know something synthetic, like the existence of an abstract entity, then in that case, you
Look,
need to.
whenever you get cornered, you just start like shitting out random things. Look, your initial claim was your initial claim. Part of you failing to give Dawkins' argument was the claim that you could only come to know an entity if you can stand in a causal relationship with it, and mathematical entities are causally impotent. I just I asked you two questions. What's the argument for the causal theory of knowledge? You went on about Gettier cases, which was completely irrelevant. And then I went on to give you an argument against the view. And the argument is here's one way to come to know that mathematical entities exist. Take something like 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 equals 8 divided by 2. Therefore, by the law of transitivity, you get 2 plus 2 equals 8 divided by 2. Now I know 8. Now I know that 2 plus 2 equals 8 divided by 2. I didn't appeal to anything external to me, but I've gained knowledge. It's a justified belief. There is no luck element involved there.
So you
If
didn't
we go
appeal to
by my
anything
earlier
external to
analysis,
you? So you didn't appeal to the concept of the number two? Sorry, to the number two when you did that?
by appealing to something external here, I mean I'm getting justification from something out there in the world. That's what separates a priori reasoning from a posteriori reasoning, dum dum.
You're getting justification about something in the world which separates a
Do you
priori
understand the
from
difference
posteriori
between
reasoning. That doesn't even make sense.
it's yeah, look, it's entirely a priori. I'm not appealing to
Yes,
any
entirely a
external
priori, exactly.
I'm not appealing to any external mechanism like a watch or like the news or anything. And I come to know something, that's true without having, without needing to stand in any causal relationship with any of the numbers.
Well, I just reject that analysis because I think what you did
Now,
here
what's your
is
argument
you're
against the
right. You
analysis?
derive the conceptual truth. But when you, if like, yes, I
Wait,
agree
is
analytically.
conceptual truths, sorry, one second. Are conceptual truths propositions?
Yeah.
Can you be justified for a conceptual truth?
Can you be justified? Sorry, you keep cutting.
Yeah, can
It's
you have
like difficult to
justification for a
understand.
conceptual truth?
Justification. Yeah, you can
All
have a
right.
priori. You can have a priori truth.
Is 2 plus 2 equals 8 divided by 2? Is that true or false?
That's a true statement in a
Was
fictional
I
sense.
right? So what you just agreed with me is I have knowledge entirely through a priori means, which disproves your
Sorry. Can
causal
you?
theory of knowledge.
fellas,
You,
fellas, how about we come to some
No,
sort of
because you
conclusion
switched
on
the
this
topic.
and let
You,
hold
you
on,
just you just
hold
said
on. How
sorry.
about
Go
we
ahead,
let
Mo.
other people talk in 2 minutes? Like at the hour, we open this up and everybody
sure,
can talk.
sure, that sounds good. Because Venus doesn't have any
Maybe
good
wrap this up.
objections. So what you did there
What do
is
you
you
wait?
switched the
What do you mean? I
topic
don't have any good
from the
objections.
concept of number two.
You're not gonna slime your way out of this. What's the reply? You just
Yeah.
agreed that
Well,
you
that's
know
the.
that 2 plus 2
I'm about to
equals
give
8.
you the reply, Venus. So you switched
Right.
the topic from the talk about the concept of number two to talk about the entity number two, which is supposed to be some abstract entity
What?
outside your head. So I agree that for you to derive the concept of eight, you can just say, hey, the concept of eight is something equivalent to 4 times the concept of number two. So yes, you can know your concept, the concept of number eight, which is inside your head. But then to go from that to there's some platonic entity outside your head that you're gaining knowledge about is just completely begging the question. And it's begging the question because you'd have to assume that there's some, platonic entity outside your head, which I have no reason to accept. And you have no reason to accept this argument besides the fact that you already presuppose that there's an abstract entity outside your
No,
head.
no, stupid, because you don't understand how classical semantics works. That's why you're saying stupid shit like this. But before we get to that, do you agree?
You
Do you
have
agree that
nothing except insults.
I just told you why you were wrong, stupid. Before I
No, you
insulted you.
didn't. You said, "Oh, there's classical semantics, therefore you're stupid."
You,
Okay,
you understand?
like this
You
is just
understand?
pure rhetoric.
How is it? Wait, how is it rhetoric?
Because the only reason why you have for accepting this argument, one of the premises in the argument, is because you already accept that there's such things as abstract entities that you can gain knowledge about. If you didn't accept that there are abstract entities you can gain knowledge about, you wouldn't have said that deducing 2 plus 2 equals 4 is actually discovering truth about some external Platonic entity.
Yeah, you're completely missing the point. Let's take it one step at a time. Do you agree that we
Put it
now
into
know?
premise conclusion format, and we'll see what if you're correct. Like, just put it into premise conclusion format.
I don't need to. You just.
Yeah, you do.
I need to
Formalize the
put two
argument,
plus
man.
two. I need
Let's
to
see
put.
which rule of inference you're using.
It's law of transitivity.
Okay, formalize the argument.
We just did 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 equals 8 divided by 2. Therefore, 2 plus 2 equals 8 divided by 4. Sorry, 8 divided by 2.
So what? This is just like a mathematical addition. Where is this supposed to entail that
Now,
you're
do you
getting
know? Hold on.
that
Do
you're
you
gaining
know?
knowledge about abstract entities outside your
Hold on. Do
head?
you know? Hold on. Do you know the conclusion to be true?
Yes, of course I know the conclusion to be
Right. Did you
true
need
because
to
it's a
stand in
conceptual
any?
truth.
Do you need to stand in any? Do you need to stand in any causal relationship to know the conclusion to be true?
Yes, my concepts of two need to causally influence the conclusion, which is that,
How the fuck are your
which
concepts
is my
causally?
belief.
Wait. How the fuck are your concepts? Wait. What? You
You
said
don't
your
think
concept?
concepts exist inside your head and they can causally
No.
influence you? You don't think your thoughts can
No.
causally influence other
I don't take
thoughts?
thoughts. I don't take thoughts and concepts to be the same thing. Stupid. Now,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. Well, there is another
So
presupposition that you can't really justify. You said
on-
concepts are not thoughts? Okay.
yeah, I take concepts and propositions to be abstract.
Oh,
Now,
concept. Okay, a concept in your head is an abstract entity inside your head. Okay, got it.
now, concepts are not in my head.
Oh, they're not. So if you have a concept of a car that's not in your head, it
Well, that's
floats
gonna be an
outside your head in
That's an
some
equivocate.
ethereal realm of existence.
Yeah. Look. Now you're just equivocating on what concept means. If we
Okay,
say there's a
formalize
concept
the
in,
argument, or it's just a waste of time.
I just did.
No, you didn't. You said 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Do
the
you
argument.
agree? Wait. Do you agree that we know the conclusion?
Yes.
Right. Do you agree that we didn't stand in any causal relationship to any quote unquote causal mechanism? Well, I don't know what you said, like
No.
truth
No,
tracking
I
mechanism.
don't agree with
So,
that.
what was the truth mechanism we stood in a causal relationship with?
Sorry, what?
So, the argument I just gave is not purely a priori.
You didn't even give an argument. What are your premises and conclusion, and what rule of inference are you using?
Wait, what? Oh my god, are you like how fucking retarded? I just said 2 plus 2 equals 4, 4 equals 8 divided by 2, therefore 2 plus 2 equals 8 divided by 2. And the law there,
Or
the rule of
okay,
inference there is law of transitivity. How the fuck is that not an argument?
that's not an
Is that an
argument that
argument?
that abstract
Is that an
entities
By the
exist
way,
argument?
Venus
outside your
said
head.
all that. Venus said all of that just 5 minutes ago. He said every word of that already.
Yes, but that's not an argument that concepts
Wait,
exist
that's not an
outside your
argument?
head.
Hold on, I'm not giving you an argument for Platonism, stupid.
So
I never
then,
said
what
I'm
is
gonna.
the point? So then, what is the point
I'm
of
tr- I'm
this
trying to
argument?
walk you step by step because you're mentally retarded and I
So
need to
then,
take it slow.
formalize the argument, give
So I'm
premises
trying.
and conclusions.
Hold on. Do you agree? Do you agree with the
Is
conclusion or
this a
not?
premise?
Yeah, I
All
just gave
right,
you an
wrap it up,
argument.
boys.
Do you agree? Do you agree that we know the conclusion now?
Yes, we can know that
Is
2
the
plus
as
2
the
equals 4.
argument is the argument entirely a priori?
Yes.
Right. We can come to know things independent of any causal relations.
Well, I just reject that because I think
What do you think a
concepts stand
priori
in
means? What do you
causal
think a
relation.
priori means? Sorry, what do you think a priori means?
Okay, so I reject the argument because I think concepts stand in causal relation to each other. So why would I ever accept the fact that concepts don't stand in
So you don't
causal
think the
relation?
argument is a
That's
priori?
just stupid. Who really accepts that concepts don't stand in causal relation?
Oh, probably like most people.
Most
Now,
people. So you don't
yeah, just
think
go.
your thought, your when
Sorry,
you have a concept in
sorry,
your
a good
mind.
portion. Yeah, a good portion. Sorry, a good portion of philosophers are Platonists. Yeah, so like a good number of people. I don't know if
Okay,
most,
okay,
but a good portion. But
okay.
now, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking about any
They
Platonic
might be
entities.
Platonists about mathematical entities, but they're not going to be Platonists about concepts, like a concept of a concept of a car exists as a Platonic entity in some
There's a difference between there's a
ethereal
difference
realm of existence outside my head. Are you kidding me?
there's a difference between idea of a car and the concept of a car. Stupid. I understand you
What is
don't
the
get that.
difference between the concept of a car and an idea of a car?
An idea of a car is going to be a thought you have in your head, in which the content is going to be the concept. The concept is the content of your idea. Just like beliefs and propositions, beliefs are not propositions. Beliefs, the content of beliefs are propositions.
Okay,
But
okay,
this is
okay.
irrelevant to the point that,
I'm trying to
look, now
understand
you're
what you
just,
just
no, no,
said
no,
there.
now you're
Of course,
steering
it's
away the
relevant.
conversation.
Your whole
Oh,
argument is based on this incoherent,
I
like
haven't given you,
stupid idea. You
why
said
is it stupid? Sorry, what's your argument against Platonism?
sure. No, I'm actually giving an argument against the idea that concepts are constitutive of ideas, but they're not ideas. That's what
I
I'm
never
giving
said
to
they're
them.
constitutive. Do you think propositions are constitutive of beliefs?
Yeah, but I think propositions are just beliefs. I think concepts are exist in minds.
And the
So
argument for that is?
yeah, that's just diverging into a different topic.
Look, you're diverging by not answering my question. Is the conclusion in the argument I just gave you entirely a priori?
I already said like 5 times that yes.
Yes.
The-
Okay. What does
Are you not?
what does a priori mean?
It's just deducible from like its premises. Conclusions deducible from the premises through
That's not the
armchair
wait.
analysis
A
without.
priori doesn't mean deducible. Stupid. Where the fuck did you get that from?
What a priori doesn't mean. Okay,
Yeah. So
let
take
me
synthetic.
let me think about this. A priori, okay, versus posteriori. Yeah, a priori just means you don't have to do any empirical investigation. The conclusion is deducible. Some fact is deducible just purely through armchair analysis.
That's correct. Now, is there any causal relations involved in a priori reasoning?
Of course, your thoughts are going to influence each
Okay,
other.
now, no, you're confusing two things. There's a difference between how you came to learn. So let's say you're inferring C from A and B in an entirely a priori matter. There's a difference between saying that the justification is a priori, independent of any causal relations, and the question of how did you come to learn A and B. Maybe I went to school, maybe somebody told me about A and B, but that's not what's being asked here. I'm asking here, is the way you come to know of C in terms of justification, does that involve any causal relations?
Yes, of course, because the conclusion,
No,
your beliefs about the conclusion has to be influenced by your beliefs about the
no.
premises.
Look.
So
It's then it
of
look
course, a
look
priori reasoning
look.
involves.
If it's a priori, it's independent of any causal relations. That's what you're not tracking. Now you
Okay,
agreed with me. You
sorry.
agreed.
I'm not interested in discussion anymore. It's
You just
just
look. You agreed with me. We can come to know things independent of any causal mechanisms.
I
Now,
don't agree with you at all.
all I have to show you
Sorry,
now is
Venus.
that
Unfortunately, I'm going to be leaving
why are you
now.
running away?
But I
Look,
appreciate this highly intellectually sophisticated discussion, the opportunity to discuss this with you.
I don't know
He
why you're
tapped
running.
out.
Look. You come.
He's
Look. All I have to
tapping
show you is
out.
how
He's tapping out.
No, it's just a waste of
it's
time.
like. I
It's first of all, it's
Oh
not
my
even
god.
interesting to people. And he's saying concepts
Why is there
exist
anybody who
outside
thinks
your
this
head.
conversation is not interesting?
It's very
Yeah, he
interesting
says
indeed.
I think it's
concepts exist
interesting
Why
in
is there
that.
outside your
anybody
head.
here who doesn't think this
Well, I've been
conversation is
laughing my
interesting?
ass off. I've been laughing my ass off.
This has been great.
Yeah, I mean, Venus
But I
is a
think he's
very
tapped
funny
out.
guy, so I agree. You should be laughing your ass off, Jovan.
Do you think there are causal relationships between different numbers?
I think there are causal relationships between concepts of numbers. So I think numbers exist as concepts in your head. I don't think numbers exist in some platonic ethereal realm or ephemeral realm or whatever the word is.
That
Wait,
seems
wait,
to be
wait,
a
wait, wait.
pretty.
Wait, actually, let's talk about that. That's not because um I wanted to show you how once you agree that that argument is entirely a priori, that if you adopt classical semantics, that you're committed to believing that there are numbers. But let me just run the indispensability argument. What's wrong with the indispensability argument? The
You're
rest.
talking about the Quine thesis?
No, no, the quine duine thesis is different from the indispensability argument, stupid. And I'm talking about the indispensability argument.
I thought that was the Quine-Durkheim thesis that
No, oh my god.
It
there.
I
comes
hope I
from
hope I hope
Quine.
somebody record I hope somebody clipped that. I want that clipped if anybody's gonna record this.
Sure, I
That's
mean
gonna
you
be
can
sick.
clip it anytime you
Well,
want.
Yeah.
Duheim's thesis is about like
I don't know what
the
I don't know what the Durkheim Quine
How you know
thesis
what
is.
the funny
Theories are
thing is?
bundled. That's
Hold on,
different.
hold on. Sorry for me to get. You know what the funny thing is? Albedo's been doing this for 1 year. The rest has been debating philosophy for like 15 years on the internet,
Of course, I haven't been debating
and it's like
philosophy.
fucking
I'm not
embarrassing.
one
He
of
doesn't
you
know
guys.
anything.
I'm not one of you guys. I'm not even. I've never been on Pod Talk. I've been on Google Plus like maybe 3-4 times max, and I've been on Skype like twice.
And you're every day on Discord and Clubhouse
Yeah, I've been on
for
Discord
the
for
past
maybe
4 years at
about
least. And you
maybe
don't
about
know,
How
and
many
you
people
don't
have a
even
2 years.
YouTube
fucking know the
channel,
difference
T-Rex?
between the Quine-Duhem thesis and the indispensability argument.
Because I'm not a philosopher. I don't. There's some philosophical
None
verbiage
of us are
I'm not aware
philosophers,
of.
stupid. It's people just pay attention. Yeah. So here's the argument. So the argument is um, um, mathematical entities are indispensable to our best scientific theories. That's the first premise. The second premise is uh, you're ontologically committed to all and only the entities that are indispensable to your best scientific theories. Therefore, you have an ontological commitment to mathematical entities.
Yes,
Now,
agreed.
right. So,
You have an
oh, you agree with the
ontological
argument?
commitment to concepts. That's all the argument entails. Good one. Good one, Venus.
No, 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 no. The argument is not to uh, concepts as construed as thoughts. The argument is you're ontologically committed to mathematical entities.
Yes, some mathematical entities or concepts in your head.
Wait, what? You think trees? You think trees are concepts in your head?
Yes, I
You
think
said
three is a
wait.
concept in
You
my
said
head. What else do
you
you
said
think
different
three is? You
earlier.
think three floats free of your thoughts in
Wait, wait,
some
wait. Is the
universal realm of existence?
That's correct. Well, I
Okay.
don't. Well, that's like metaphorical language, but the point is, let's say, was this argument sound before you lived?
Was the argument sound prior to me living?
Yeah.
Well, it,
See,
yeah, I
the
suppose the
problem is,
argument was sound
yeah, yeah.
prior.
So, like, so if
Wait,
you
wait.
weren't around to have these
But
ideas
that
in your
just
head,
entails
how
a
did they
universal
exist?
mind, Venus. Don't you get it? That just entails a universal necessary mind. So you've proven the existence of God.
No, not no. Look, stupid. The point is, you could say mathematical entities
Venus,
are.
thank you. Thank you. You made my case. You made my case perfectly. There's some truths, there's some necessary truths which are conceptual. Humans exist finitely. Therefore, what makes these necessary truths, what makes these necessary
Yeah, but now you're
truths?
changing the look. Now you're changing the topic. The topic was never an argument for God. Look, let me even grant you. Look, let me grant you theism and divine conceptualism. Let's say that is true. I'm making a different point. My point is, you can come to know things that exists independent of standing in any causal relationships with them,
No,
because the
because
way
you
you
see,
come to
God
know
is a causal entity.
it
God
doesn't
is a
look.
causal
It doesn't
entity,
matter.
which explains how you can know these concepts,
It
Venus.
doesn't matter. Look,
Venus,
that's not.
thank you.
No,
Thank you. This is like the best
that's
thing anybody has ever done for me on Discord or
now.
Clubhouse.
Yeah, now you're like trolling. Look, I can grant you divine conceptualism and that God exists and that all of these things are ideas. That's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is you come to know of these entities independent of any causal relations through purely a priori matters.
Well, this is begging the question, right? So let's just start from the
So you
premise
deny
that
that we came to know
the
2 plus 2
Quine
equals
argument.
8. Wait, you
Let's
deny
just
we came
start
to
from the
know?
premise that
No, no, no. I don't want you. No, no.
indispensability
This. No, no, no.
thesis.
I'm not gonna. No, no, no. I'm not gonna let you like run away and not make my point.
No, no,
You
you're running
agreed.
away
Wait, running away from what?
from the indispensability argument.
I just granted you that you can say divine conceptualism is true. The point that I'm making is you come to know of these things without standing in a causal relationship with them.
No, because if divine conceptualism is true and numbers
It
are
doesn't
concepts
fucking
in God's
listen,
head,
stupid. It doesn't matter that that they are.
and
You
thoughts
can grant.
are
Yeah, you can grant that
causal,
they're causally
and thoughts
potent.
are causal,
Yeah,
then,
yeah, 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 yeah.
then if
Look,
thoughts
look,
are
look.
causal,
We can
God's
grant.
thoughts
No,
ensure your
oh
knowledge
my
or
God,
his
you're
knowledge.
so fucking stupid. Look, we can grant you that the thoughts and the mathematical entities, which are like ideas floating in God's head, are causally potent. They can stand in causal relations. My point is the way you don't come to know of them by standing in causal relationships with them. You come to know of them purely through a priori means.
Of
which
course, we
shows that
stand in causal relations. What do you think?
not
What do you
if you
think
come to
created
that's
your
what
mind, Venus,
then you
to
don't
think
then
in an analytical?
and
So
then you,
if
look you
so,
just don't know what
You're
a
granting
priori.
me that God exists and mathematics is just concepts in God's head, and God
I
created
can
human
grant
minds.
I can grant you all of that and still
well,
show you. Look, I can
well, then you're
my
just granting me we stand in causal relationships to concepts in God's head because God created our minds
no
to be
yeah, but that's
rational.
not what that's not. There's a difference between there's a difference between how you came to
Venus,
have them.
thank you, thank you. You
I don't know
made my
why
case
are you
better for me than I could
scared.
have ever done.
Look, I understand you're cutting me off because you're trying to like make like a
Yeah,
point
because
before
you
you like run
completely
away.
just like boxed yourself in.
You're trying to run away by like feeling like you made like a good point before you run away, but that's not gonna work. The point is, if you
I
agreed
hope this
as
is
you've done,
recorded. I want to listen to it.
right? Yeah, I hope it's recorded because I want to listen to you saying that Duhem quantity is the same thing as
Well,
indispensability
I'm not a
argument.
philosopher, obviously.
No, neither am I. But let's go back to the point. If you agree that like you come to know mathematical theorems through a priori means, and you agree that those theorems are ontologically committing, which you do once you concede to the Putnam-Quine indispensability argument, then you've just agreed with me that you come to know of entities through purely a priori means, which means you don't have to stand in a causal relationship with them, because that will be an a posteriori way of coming to know them, not an a priori way of coming to know them. And so you consider that the causal theory of knowledge is bunk. By
Did you say
conceding
that the
to
Putnam-Quine hypothesis is the indispensability theorem?
no, I didn't say hypothesis, the Putnam-Quine argument.
Yeah,
The
the argument
Putnam-Quine
says
argument is the
indispensability.
indispensability argument, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. I thought the Quine indispensability argument. Why did you say that? Like,
You said Quine-Duhem thesis is the
oh, okay.
indispensability argument stupid.
Oh, so okay, okay, whatever. Um,
No,
so the
it's not
Quine
point
did more
whatever.
than
is,
one
It's you
thing.
being.
so
It's
the
not
point
whatever.
is,
It's you
if
being
you're willing
stupid.
to, if you're willing, yeah, it's just like semantics. Who cares? So
No,
just
I care
pedantic.
very much by making you look stupid. It like brings me joy.
It's pure obstinate pedantry. So if you want to say
Yeah, what's
that,
wrong with that?
if you're willing to grant, yeah, give the argument for that. Give the argument why pedantry is bad. Okay. So if you're willing to grant that there's a God and these concepts, mathematical concepts, exist in God's head, and God created us, and God is rational agent, and God created human minds to be rational, and then human minds deduce these entities, you're just granting there's an external truth preserving mechanism which
No,
ensures
you're
that we
confusing
can
two things.
derive truths like 2 plus 2 equals 4.
No, you're
So,
different. No, no, no,
so
no. You're
Venus,
confusing. You're making like the
I
very
thank you.
simple.
I thank you from the bottom of
No,
my heart.
you're making a very simple confusion, which I pointed out earlier. It might be the case that the way you learn to do arithmetic was from your teacher. But once you come to know of a new theorem through arithmetic, all that's involved there is what are the steps involved in you coming to know of the things, not the history behind how you obtain the concepts. The point with the causal theory of knowledge is that you can't come to know of entities unless you stand in causal relationships with them. And in this case, you're coming to learn of new entities through what you already know, but you're only employing what you already know, and through purely a priori means come to learn of new entities. That's enough to show that the causal theory of knowledge is bunk.
Yeah. So I would just
The
reject the
history of
idea
how you obtained your
that we come to
mind,
know.
or how you learned the concepts, or whether you went to school or so on, doesn't play a part in the a priori justification part. The point is, if you concede that the argument that I gave earlier is purely a priori, then you agree that we come to know of theorems through purely a priori means. We don't need to stand in any causal relations to come to learn of new theorems. And also, if you grant the indispensability argument, which includes the premise that you're committed to the entities that are indispensable to our best scientific theories, then you agree that we can come to know of entities, whether you take them to be abstracta or ideas floating in God's head, without standing in causal relationship with them. And that what
So
was the fact that God created us and all of that, and the history of how you got your mind is irrelevant to the argument that I just ran.
yeah, with all due respect, Venus, now you're just getting very desperate. Because as far as I
Like, how am I
understood, the
getting
causal
desperate?
theory of knowledge is that there's a necessary condition for your knowledge, which is that there's an external causal mechanism. Now, in this case, the necessary condition for knowing 8 is that you already have a concept of 2. The necessary condition for having the concept of 2 is that God designed your mind in such, if you're granting theism, is that God designed your mind in such a way to know the concept of 2. So basically, you're just granting the causal theory of knowledge.
No, now you're no. Look.
Unfortunately, I gotta go, Venus.
Yeah,
But
run
thank
away.
you for the intellectually
Oh my
stimulating
god.
discussion,
Yeah,
and
run
I'll
away.
speak with you next time.
Yeah, run away, buddy.
Wow, that was
Now,
awesome.
now I'm puzzled. Why do you guys not think that the res is like Matt Adams level?
That was
Right?
Well,
That was great, Venus.
Jack,
That
it's
was
hard to
great.
hear you.
By the way, does Dart actually employ like the causal theory of knowledge and Gettier cases, or just that because supposedly the second time you're
That's what I was
giving
gonna
Dart's
ask.
argument.
No,
Like,
I
what
don't
you
think
go to
Darth
your cases
appeals.
come up in Darth's
I
argument?
don't think Darth
If
appeals
anything, he
to
dislikes
those.
them.
He's not even. Darth is not even clear on what a Gettier case is, and he certainly doesn't know what the causal theory of knowledge is.
Well,
Jack, you're super funny.
I don't think